Hello and most welcome to 1650 of the Heidegger series. Yes, it's an equal 50.
Hooray, hooray, hooray.
Thank you very much. Hooray, hooray for you too, and all our listeners and viewers. It's the quickest 50 ever produced, although the episodes now are extensively large. They are long. We will continue with HANS-JOSEF KLAUCK, Do They Never Come Back, Nero, Redivivus, and the Apocalypse of John. And we are at page 692. And we ended here last time about clementia, and I just go to, can make it a little bit bigger. This one is smaller. Perfect. And we just ended with the clementia. He tells his pupil, Nero, you are the soul of the empire. The empire is your body. And we mentioned in the last episode, 1647, that there is a connection between the different emperors, their titles. Then we made a connection to the heads of the monster. But it's also the body is the empire. And Nero seemed to survive in an almost Lord Bernardian way. It's a reproduction of the name, genetically DNA reproduction. It's hard to tell what is copy or what is original in this copying process. And the sentence we begin is at the end of chapter 13. We can have the text all the way up, please. Beginning with at. At the end of chapter 13, in verse 18, we are invited to calculate the name of the beast, which is the name of a human being from the enigmatic number 666. I do not intend to participate in the endless guesswork provoked by that number, or to add any new proposals. The most plausible solution, which finds many adherents today, was already proposed in the early 19th century and taken up in 1883 by Friedrich Engels, the companion of Karl Marx. Is that it was a strange coincidence? We discussed today Friedrich Engels. What are the chances? His grave that is situated in Highgate Cemetery in northern London. Odd. In an essay on Revelation, he explained the number 666 by gematria. Letters can be read as numerals, and Nero Caesar, written in Hebrew as Neron Kaiser, with a nun, with the value 50 in Hebrew, of the Greek form in the first part of the name, and without an additional yod, or I in the second part, values 666. Engels could not yet know that this defective writing would later be discovered in a Jewish document from the time of Nero, found in Wadi Murabat. To put it graphically, will perhaps explain more than many words. Here you can see a cipher diagram where it's explained how it goes from Nero and Kaiser. If we look closely at our text in Revelation 13:18, we are asked to calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a person. So far we have got the number of a person, Nero. What about the number of the beast? It may be by mere accident, but if we write Therion in Hebrew letters, we get the number 666 again. One reason for this speaking in riddles is related to the status of apocalyptic writings as underground literature. The criticism is carefully veiled, and the veil should not too easily be pierced by outsiders. Otherwise, things might get dangerous for author and reader alike. The woman and the beast. We come now to chapter 17. There Rome is represented in three ways. By the woman on the beast, who is called Babylon the Great. By the scarlet beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns, which is identical with the beast from the sea in chapter 13. And by the 7 heads, which again have a double function. They are the 7 mountains, a clear allusion to Rome. the city of 7 hills, and they also are 7 kings. That is 7 Roman emperors. In verse 8, the angel tries to solve for the seer the riddle surrounding the beast in 2 steps. The beast you saw was and is not, and is about to ascend from the bottomless pit and go to destruction, and the inhabitants of the earth, whose name have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, will be amazed when they see the beast, because it was and is not and is to come. The description of the temporal status of the beast at the end of the verse, for it was past, is not present, and will come, is reminiscent of the formula who is, who was, and who is to come. Attributed to the Lord God, the Almighty, in Revelation 1, 4, 8, etc. But it is a very defective parallel. Whereas the original formula relating to God covers past, present, and future, and speaks of eternity, the beast certainly has a time when it does not exist on earth as a living being. This can be deduced from the first half of verse 8, which presents fuller information. The beast was and is not, but then we hear about its future coming. It will ascend from the abyss, the netherworld, where it obviously stays and waits for the time being. In mythic language, the abyss can be equated with the sea from chapter 13 and its chaotic forces. But the ascending from the pit relate only to the near future. The final destiny of the beast looks gloomy. After its comeback from the pit, it will go to utter destruction. This again looks strangely familiar, though somewhat distorted. We remember what the seer heard in his opening vision. I am the first and the last and the living one. I was dead, and see, I am alive forever and ever. This is said by the risen Christ, who was crucified and died, but now lives with God. The way of the beast gives an inverted mirror image of the way of Christ. We may conclude the beast died and went not to God, but to the place of the dead, to the pit. It is revived again and returns to earth. At his parousia. If we take, but in the end the lake of fire awaits it. If we take the beast to be Rome, represented by an emperor, we find several pointers to the Nero legend in the text. Nero was emperor for a time. Now he is not, but he is awaited and will return for the final battle. But one distinctive transformation took place. Only now is it clearly stated that Nero was dead and will come up, reanimated from the abyss. There is an obvious reason for this. Nero is parallel with Christ, but in an inverted way as Christ's opponent and antagonist. This is the Christian reception of the Nero legend, and only now may we speak in a strict sense of Nero Redivivus. The term Antichrist should be avoided here, since it does not occur in the text at all. See the 7 kings and the beast. The angel continues his interpretation of the mysterious vision. Indicating from the start that even the proposed solution will still look enigmatic. Quote here from Revelation. This calls for a mind that has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. Also, they are 7 kings, of whom 5 have fallen. 1 is living, and the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must remain only a little while. As for the beast, that was and is not. It is an 8th, but it belongs to the 7, and it goes to destruction. To begin with, the kings, who in reality are emperors. 5 have fallen, that is, they are dead and have perhaps all died a violent death in the imagination of our author. The 6th one is living at present. The book of Revelation claims to have been written during his reign. Then a seventh emperor comes, but only for a short period of time. This is puzzling. We know two emperors in the first century, in the Common Era, who only reigned for the short time of 2 years, Titus and Nerva. Is it prophetic insight come true when our author, writing either in the days of Vespasian or of Domitian, knew about the short reign of the successor? Is it pure coincidence, or is it perhaps a vaticinium ex evento? That means our author knew about either Titus or Nerva, and he's writing not during the reign of the sixth king, but during the reign of the eighth. Eight as a cardinal number is used in verse 11 for the beast from verse 8 that was and is not and goes to destruction. If we now compare the three instances where the beast is described, verse 8a, the beast that you saw was and is not. And is about to ascend from the bottomless pit and go to destruction, because it was and is not and is to come. As for the beast that was and is not, it is an eighth, but it belongs to the seven, and it goes to destruction. We see that from verse 11. We get the additional information that the beast, which is also a head, belongs to the seven kings too. It comes from their number. This makes sense only if king and beast and king can be at least partly equated. The next step would be to take a list of the Roman emperors in the 1st century Common Era and try to fit in the data from Revelation 17. It is not sufficient to say that the author never intended us to do so, and a purely symbolic reading of this passage is no longer convincing once chapter 13 has been interpreted by recourse to historical references. Why then did the author of Revelation frame these verses with so many hermeneutical hints, even more than in 1318? He not only employs the vision and interpretation scheme from apocalyptic literature, he also introduces an angelus interpres. He uses the word mysterion and calls explicitly for attention in verse 9 as he did in 13:9. Of course, more than a well-directed guess is not possible. There are so many uncertainties. Where should we begin to count? With Julius Caesar, Augustus, Tiberius, or Caligula? What are we supposed to do with Galba, Otto, and Vitellius from 68-69? My guess is we start with Augustus down through Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, get Nero as 5th, skip Galba, Otto, Vitellius, and have Vespasian as the 6th. Then Titus as the 7th one with a short reign, and we end with Domitian as the 8th, which concurs with the traditional dating of Revelation to 95 Common Era. A list may give visual help to clarify the argument. Here is a list for the viewers to see. You can put pause and have a look-see. And here you can, of course, see how the author is thinking. We remove Galba, Otto, and Vitellius, and we end up with the desired eighth. Continue. That means that the author uses an old device of apocalyptic writing, the recapitulation of history in the future mode, or the predating of certain events by vaticinium ex evente. Though he applies this device, which may cover centuries, only to a short period. He gives the impression of writing under Vespasian, and announcing the coming of the seventh and finally the eighth emperor, whereas in reality he works under Domitian, more likely at the end of his reign than at the beginning. It follows that for him, Domitian as the eighth, who is one of the seven, is Nero Redivivus. As a figure of thought, this is not so astonishing. John the Baptist and Jesus of Nazareth was seen as the returning Elijah, and Herod Antipas share the popular belief that in Jesus, John the Baptist has been raised from the dead, and for this reason, these powers are at work with him. For this interpretation to be correct, it is not necessary that the historical Domitian was a bloodthirsty tyrant and a persecutor of the Christians. And in fact, he was not, as we now know. But he reigned and represented the Roman power. It's enough that our author, as proponent of a minority position, encountered local repression and resistance in Asia Minor, and that he felt Christian identity in the local communities endangered by too much readiness to collaborate with a state which displayed no doubt an impressive and attractive force. This social experience he counters with the weapon of the underprivileged, with equally powerful apocalyptic imagination, by constructing an alternative mythic world out of the debris of the existing one. And here I will go to votes. Let's see. Page 694, please. Leave that for an extended summary. We are hitting the hour mark. And it's at the very bottom of 694. And the last sentence there, or the penultimate sentence, when I read the whole, the way of the beast gives an inverted mirror image of the way of Christ. We may conclude the beast died and went not to God, but to the place of the dead, to the pit. It is revived again and returns to earth, as Christ will return at his parousia. This is very important, shows that there is a mirroring going on here. The underworld and the overworld, if you like, verso and recto. And we have heads or tail on the coin. The importance of this cannot be stressed enough, I would say. If we don't have the double takes, we have neither side. Without the beast dying, there would be no Christ. The one-sidedness is the evil itself, because it can only do one thing. You can compare that to seeing only the duck in the duck rabbit, or only one side of the neck cube. On page 695, when we go down to the site here from Revelation. The mentioning of number here is quite interesting. Which the woman, oh, I'll read the whole. This calls for a mind that has wisdom. The 7 hands are 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. Also, they are 7 kings, of whom 5 have fallen. One is living and the other has not yet to come. And when he comes, he must remain only a little while. And here comes the very important. As for the beast that was and is not, it is an 8th, but it belongs to 7, and it goes to destruction. There is a tremendous difference between 8 and 7. 8 has capacities that 7 simply doesn't have, especially in the taking of gematria and geometry as well. It wouldn't be unfair to say that 8 is a particular number. Do remember that play on present and past and future. Sorry, let me go back here. There's a lot of recording today here. Bearing on my mind. 694, I wanted to add that. The second paragraph, sorry, the description, yes, exactly. The description of the temporal status of the beast at the end of the verse, that it was, is not, and will come. It is not now. Nero is not here now, for instance. Is reminiscent of the formula who is and who was and who is to come. And especially attributed here to the Lord God, the Almighty, in Revelation 1, 4, 8, etc. And I don't agree it's a defective parallel. It's fantastic. It fits the glove like a hand for a princess. It has the capacity of being and not being, to be dead and revived, not in the way that Jesus ascends and descends, goes to a bottomless pit, it goes to destruction. The destruction, I would say, of one-sidedness. That is a wish for destruction itself. With only Christ or only the beast, there would be nothing. That is the meaning also of 7, not 8. That is further enlarged in the 2 columns at 697. And here you can see the emperors fitting nicely into the 8 take. And here you can almost understand how it works. There's a mention in 696, it is an 8th, but it belongs to the 7, and it goes to destruction. 697, we see all the 8 emperors And to that, we just add to be or not to be. That is the question. Or to be and be. Better put. Life, death, I would say also. It's amazing how nicely the two texts here come together. They mostly diverge, and here they converge. There is two vortexes, one converging and the other diverging. It's just sheer brilliance. Maybe some comments from my dear colleague Kalle here.
Yes. So we began with our most exciting commentary by Engels. It was a surprise that Marx' colleague also commented on this issue, or he was the discoverer. Not the discoverer, but he made some progress in this understanding.
Yes.
So it would be sometimes I should actually go to the original text Engels, since he's so influential as a historical person. Das Buch der Offenbarung in 83 in Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Interesting. I want to further leave Engels there. Also, I want to comment on the same. Let me see. Here, this, as you, it's an 8, but it belongs to 7. So we could. There are. So for the first, in relation to the number of the beast 66, it's often affirmed that number 6 is the number of imperfection, but here the number of the beast, or the beast itself, is linked to the numbers of completeness.
Yeah.
So it's a complicated issue.
Oh, yeah.
But what I what I found the most interesting is the if he this author KLAUCK, he doesn't comment on 616 alternative reading. So in this quotation, it is an 8, but it belongs to the 7. Yeah. The two numbers 8 and 7 are interwoven. 8 and 7, and that I would also say that 660 and 666 are interwoven in the same manner.
Oh yeah.
So you could say, but it's it's 666, but it belongs also to 616.
Indeed.
And there is always everything is interwoven, like in the Seneca quotation about Nero that we had in the beginning. And also the duck and hare comparison by Wittgenstein is a good way of understanding. 616 could be the duck, 666 could be the hare, or the vice versa.
He has
also, you know the both numbers.
He has an example in his philosophical investigation about the aspect blind, and the aspect blind cannot see the duck rabbit. It's only see one thing.
Absolutely.
It's like a zombie, soulless zombie.
Indeed. It
could also be evil.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe the oddest is that I mentioned Engels today.
Oh.
It's what are the chance? It was his grave in London, Highgate Cemetery in northern London.
Why did you comment on the tomb of Engels?
It was both Marx and Engels, and I went there in 2005 to see the graves, and I was actually locked into the cemetery because the caretaker left at 4 o'clock and put a big chain to the gate. And as the cemetery is called Highgate, that gate is really high. I think it was no less than 3 meters, 4 meters high. So you were supposed to spend the night there in the cemetery. But that's why I mention it, by that terrific experience. But it was Engels I mentioned as well.
So let me comment on that one last thing. So because it was and it's not, it's to come. According to KLAUCK, and I think he makes a rather convincing reading. It was that is Nero, is not that is the reigning emperor at the time of so John pretends to be writing at the time of Vespasian.
Yeah.
According to KLAUCK, and it's not because Nero is not Vespasian. Vespasian is not a good emperor, perhaps in one way. And it's to come that is Domitian, during whom John did actually wrote according to KLAUCK. So I think it's a rather complete reading actually. So perhaps we should stop there.
Yeah, it was pretty massive today. Many hours, but it was interesting, very interesting. Thank you very much for participating, everyone.
Thank you.
Colleague Kalle. Have a pleasant night, morning, or whatever you are experiencing. And until next, have a very good time. Bye-bye.